What's up, guys? Welcome back to Storytime with Uncle Jon. Hope you're having a good week. Mine's going pretty good. Nothing super spectacular going on, but things ain't bad. Got a funeral to go to at the end of the week, so gonna try to get this one out before we head out of town. That way you got something else to watch. Today we're looking at Am I the A-hole? I don't do a lot of these because some people don't like the drama. I try not to over dramatize them. I try to just read them and give my 2-cent opinion, which is exactly what it's worth. Anyway, all right, let's get to the stories. Am I the a-hole for acting like my boyfriend's stepsister to prove a point? My boyfriend Matt and I have been together nearly 4 years and moved in together earlier this year, and they're both 26 and 27 respectively. His stepsister Clara is currently staying with us for a few weeks on and off, and that's where the problem arises. Clara has always been a princess type. That's her thing, whatever. But it's always annoyed me how Matt reacts to it. He goes along with it completely. He is her doormat from the second she arrives until the second she leaves. I always figured that's his choice and his business, so I never said anything about it, but since she's been staying, it's really been bothering me. He carries her things like a pack mule, runs around every morning trying to get her the breakfast she wants, makes reservations at restaurants he hates just because she likes it, and gives her free use of his credit cards to buy whatever she wants. There's other things, but these are the types of things that really annoy me. I'm ad-libbing a little here. I feel so awkward when he's fawning over her like that. I've spoken to him about how he acts around her, and his excuse is always, "What am I supposed to do? That's how she is." I asked him if he doesn't find it inconsiderate and annoying, and he said no. I don't believe him. I don't believe he could not notice that the way she acts is inconsiderate. So I tried an experiment. I started acting like her. Last week, the last day she was here, I said I wanted fresh fruit for breakfast. When Matt didn't say anything, I asked if he'd go get some, which he did. When we went out for lunch, I didn't even offer to pay. When we went to run errands after lunch, I made him drive 30 minutes to the next town over to go to a particular shopping center, and I took longer than usual choosing products. I also made him drive home. I could see he was a bit annoyed by me, but he didn't say anything. Later, I suggested we order takeout instead of cooking, and when he said okay, I asked to order on his app. Clara got home after we ate, and Matt spent most of the evening playing video games with her because he was clearly upset with me by this time. After she went to bed, Matt confronted me, asking if I was okay because I had been acting odd all day. He said I'd been treating him like he works for me, which he didn't appreciate. But if I was stressed or upset, we should talk through it. I told him I had spent one day treating him exactly how his sister does, and he hated it, so he can't say he doesn't notice how she is. Matt got mad and said that was an insane thing to do, and he noticed because that's not my personality. He called me childish and said I'd wasted a day for nothing. It's been a few days and things have been awkward. Matt's been spending evenings gaming or with friends and has been cold to me. I don't think I did anything that bad, but my girlfriends say testing him like that was stupid when Matt treating Clara like a baby really doesn't affect me, so I should just ignore it. Now I feel bad. Edit. Clara is also 26. A lot of people asked. So, I don't see anything inherently wrong with being nice to your sister, doing things for her, things like that. I don't know, there's something just weird and odd with this one. It's almost like he's simping for his own sister, stepsister, whatever. Anyway, same thing once people are married into your family. I don't separate those two things, your brother and sister. But yeah, it seems like almost like he's simping hard for her, and I don't know why. Yes, that may be the way that she is, but that doesn't mean that you need to cater to it. Make sense? I mean, at some point, this 26-year-old female needs to do things for herself, or at the very least, participate like you're part of the group. You're an adult just like they are. You're the same age they are, yet you seem to have less responsibility and want to put everything off on somebody else. Your brother, the one who's easy to manipulate and does everything for you. I don't understand the dynamic before, they left their parents' house or whatever, but yeah, I don't know. Testing him like that, I don't know. I got mixed feelings on it. Honestly, if you're his significant other, he should be treating you at least as good as he's treating his sister, if not better. I still think it's wrong to do everything for your partner or your sister or whoever. There should be some give and take with everybody. So, I don't know. I don't think you're the a-hole. Maybe that probably wasn't the appropriate time to test that theory. I don't know. Or maybe you could have done it in smaller bites. Whatever. The guy's obviously got some kind of psychological issue when it comes to his sister, and she definitely has his number and can pull his strings just right. So hopefully he gets some help. If not, run. Am I the a-hole if I ask my daughters deepnophobic boyfriend not to come over when we're eating? Okay, we got to look this up first. So I did. Deepnophobia, I'm still not sure I'm saying it right, is a form of social anxiety disorder, manifesting as the fear of eating in front of others. The condition can be difficult or even debilitating to deal with every day. Your fear of eating in front of others can severely restrict your social life, the choices you have, and the decisions you make. Sounds completely awful. My daughter's been dating this guy a couple months. One day he was going to hang out, watch movies, and have pizza. We ordered pizza, extra to ensure we had enough for him, and as soon as I got home with it, he walked out without even saying goodbye, which we thought was rude. On another occasion, we invited him to a restaurant to celebrate a special event for my daughter. He ordered food but didn't eat and spent most of the dinner in the bathroom. Finally, we spent the day out with him along and stopped for food. We were all famished. I encouraged him to order something, my treat, along with everyone else, and he refused. Then he just sat there awkwardly watching everyone eat. It made me very uncomfortable because I don't like people watching me eat. I told my daughter that I think he's been pretty rude, but she likes him, so she thinks his behavior is no big deal. A little while later, my daughter informs us that he has an issue eating in front of people. So I say, well, that's fine, but he doesn't need to hang around at mealtimes because it makes me uncomfortable eating in front of someone that isn't eating with us. Kind of makes sense. Now my daughter's mad that I'm discriminating against his disability, and I wouldn't treat someone else like that if they had a disability. Am I the a-hole for not wanting him around at mealtimes? Another one I'm kind of torn on. I don't think you're the a-hole, and I understand where you're coming from because it is awkward and weird. Now this guy took it a step further. Okay, just because you don't feel comfortable, you have deepnophobia or depthnophobia, whatever it's called, and you can't eat in front of other people, you obviously proved at least once that you can sit there and watch other people eat. I think if you had explained yourself up front and said, listen, I have a real phobia here with eating in front of other people, so I can't really participate in the eating portion. I can hang out with you guys and talk, no problem, but I can't personally eat in front of other people. You could have made arrangements to, say, listen, can I disappear for 10 minutes, take your 2 slices of pizza, whatever, go wolf them down in another room real quick and come back and join the crowd. I don't know. There's an answer here somewhere. But mom also has a problem sitting there while, eating while somebody's staring at her while he's not eating. And I can understand that too. There's an awkwardness. There's a social awkwardness to it. But if the boyfriend's not willing to give a little and say, share his feelings, share his phobia, and I believe it's real. For him, it's definitely a thing. But, why should everybody else suffer because of it? Maybe either skip meal times and come afterwards, or excuse yourself while you go eat your food and then come right back. There's an answer there somewhere. The daughter's also playing up to the phobia. Not saying it's not real. Again, I'm not there. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist. I don't even play one on TV. But I think everybody needs to come together and have an adult discussion. And if this guy's not willing to play along and, make adjustments, and the family's not willing to make adjustments, then, just keep your boyfriend away for a while. Just like in the beginning, when he walked out without saying anything to anybody, he just walked past you and left when you were trying to make sure you had enough food for everybody. That is rude. I don't care if you have a phobia or not. That was rude. So there's also a little bit of an attitude going on, and I think he likes to play up to his own phobias. So I don't know. I don't think you're the a-hole, but I do think, everybody needs to sit down and have a rational conversation about it. Am I the a-hole for leaving my mom on her birthday because she wouldn't stop talking about my half-siblings? My mom turned 60 last week, and I took her out to dinner to celebrate. It was her, me, 21 female, my girlfriend, 22 female, and my mom's best friend. I also spent most of the day with her, and we went shopping, etc. During dinner, she talked about how my half-siblings should have come. I told her she had the option to invite them if she wanted them there, but I couldn't and wouldn't make contact with them. Couldn't because I have no contact info for them and we're not social media friends. Wouldn't because they've been very clear they want no contact with me. Alright. To explain why, my mom was happily married to my half-sibling's dad, and they were a happy family. Then he died. My half-siblings were 12 and under at the time. Mom ended up in a cycle of quick marriages that ended just as fast, and almost 5 years later I was born from one of the failed marriages. My half-siblings didn't see me as a sibling or as a member of their family. They view me, and always have viewed me, as an accident. As someone who should never have existed. They didn't want me to exist. They didn't want another reminder that their dad was gone and mom was throwing herself at all kinds of men. They wanted a neater family where all siblings had the same 2 parents. It was more complicated. Me sharing mom was not only less neat, it was more complicated. I didn't have much to do with the oldest. He stopped coming around once the other 2 moved out of the house. But before that, he'd come and he ignored me. I got used to it. The other 2 were close to each other, and because of the age gap too, I was the outsider. It was rough being on the outside when I was small, and mom was never very stable or steady. According to mom's best friend, the death of her husband was always going to be the death of the woman, and mom she was. She loved him and found she never loved or found happiness after him. Each new husband was a distraction at best. The contact with my half-siblings lessened so much over time. They're not very close to mom either, but they check in on her from time to time. They speak to her occasionally. They send cards and stuff for birthdays and Christmas. For her though, and not me. I attempted to make contact when I moved out by sending a follow request on social media, but they never accepted. That was it. So back to the birthday dinner. I told mom ahead of time and told her if she wanted my half-siblings there, she'd need to invite them herself. She didn't. Then during dinner, she kept saying how I should reach out, how we should be close. I should have invited them and all kinds of stuff like that. I told her they wanted nothing to do with me and could she please drop it. She kept pushing, and especially on the topic of my relationship with them. We all tried to change the subject. When she wouldn't let it go, my girlfriend and I left early without finishing because I was done. My mom was crying down the phone to me the next day and the day after that asking how I could leave her. Am I the a-hole? None of this is anything more than my personal opinions and speculations, but I don't think you're the a-hole. I think ultimately here, mom is the a-hole. Mom definitely lost something after her husband died. It triggered something in her and created a lot of deep-seated issues, and I get that. I mean, I've not experienced it myself, but I've seen what happens to people after their spouse dies and somebody they have a real close attachment to. At the same time, she was the adult in the family. She should have held things together a little bit better. Also, allowing the half-siblings to just shun you because of her decisions was really piss poor. Now, they were young at the time and probably didn't know how to handle things, and I get that too to a certain extent. And sometimes things just never gel. It's just one of those things. You never came together, you were never friends, you never got along, never made any connections, family or otherwise, and there's nothing you can do about that. Forcing the issue is not going to help it. You tried to reach out a couple times, they didn't accept. That's a clear sign to me. You don't want anything to do with me, and that's okay. I will be fine. I will survive. I will survive. Never mind. Really, for mom to expect you to keep reaching out to them after she screwed up so many times with failed marriages and everything else is just totally unrealistic and quite childish, to be honest with you. Again, you didn't even say they couldn't come to the birthday celebration. You just told her that she needed to be the one to invite them because you didn't have contact with them. Some by choice, some by their choice, some because you don't have contact information, then it is what it is. And honestly, how good could the birthday dinner have been if she won't drop the subject and she just keeps regurgitating the same thing over and over and over and over again? Then at that point, I would have left too. Listen, just drop it. It's not a subject for tonight. It's not something we're going to cure tonight. It doesn't make a difference tonight. We just need to celebrate your birthday. That's all we're doing here. And she couldn't accept that, so be it. I understand family dynamics can get really weird and twisted when marriages end. People die, things like that, divorces. But, it's up to the people involved to either make it work or not make it work. Or, you can still just say, I'm out, and disconnect from everybody and that go your own way, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that either, as long as everybody knows up front, I'm not going to be involved in this. And that's that. Ta-da. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad and stepmom to suck it up and accept my maternal grandparents are getting equal honors at my wedding? Man, that was a lot. I, 26 female, am getting married this year to my amazing fiance. We've made some choices that have been unpopular that might make me the a-hole. My dad and stepmom have some really bad blood with my maternal grandparents and vice versa. My mom died when I was 6, and my brother was 4, and my sister was 3. Out of the 3 of us, I'm the only one who remembers mom. My younger siblings don't, and when dad remarried when we were 9, 7, and 5, they quickly went from calling her by her first name to mom. I didn't. My grandparents called her our stepmom, which is where the bad blood quickly set in. My dad and stepmom said they, the grandparents, should acknowledge her actual role in the family, which was as the new mother in our lives. They told me my grandparents should be encouraging me to accept stepmom as mom. Dad tried to cut my grandparents from our lives, but my grandparents fought back in court and got 1 day a month with us in court. Dad and stepmom hated this. They also told me I wasn't being fair to my stepmom. I told her so many times she wasn't my mom, and they told me that it wasn't kind or fair, that she was doing her best and she loved me as her daughter but was rejected constantly by me. We were in therapy for 3 years. There were a lot of discussions, including about my grandparents, which only worsened my dad and stepmom's attitude towards my grandparents. Specifically, the fact I said twice in therapy that I would rather live with my grandparents, that I craved the connection to mom more than the family they were making. Things kind of settled much later when I was almost ready to move out, and so I stayed in touch and tried not to be too unappreciative for the fact that my stepmom tried. I knew my siblings loved her just as much as I loved mom, so for their sake as well. But I always felt more connected to my grandparents, and I never felt a real connection to my stepmom, even though I didn't think she's truly a bad person. While planning our wedding, my fiance and I did a lot of talking about what our wedding would look like, and whether we'd go traditional or not. He knew I wished mom could be there. He knew I was missing her throughout this, and he suggested that I include my grandparents in her honor. So I asked both dad and grandpa to walk me down the aisle, and both my stepmom and grandma were included like mother of the bride might be. All 4 would be seated at the parents' table too. This is what felt right to me, and my grandparents are on board. My dad and stepmom complained and accused me of disrespecting them by including my grandparents so much. They said I was using my grandparents to diminish their roles in my life. I told them no. I was honoring my mom and my grandparents in my life by doing this. When they didn't let up, I told them to suck it up and accept it or step back if they want. They called me a bridezilla and told me I was taking out petty childish emotions with my actions towards them. Am I the a-hole? I think everybody plays a little bit of an a-hole part in this one. So, while I understand you were young when your mom died, 6, I mean, that's horrible. I do understand the fact that, your dad wasn't going to stay single forever, and he found somebody that, they fell in love, whatever, blah, 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 and she took over the motherly role. Now, that doesn't mean she's your mom by birth, but she can be your mother. And, I have a stepmom. I call her mom. It is what it is. My birth mom's still alive. We talk. We all talk. But I don't put one above the other. There is no higher pecking order here for anything. It's not a competition. Basically, you needed a mother that was there. Yours, unfortunately, couldn't be there for you. So this woman filled that role. Now, if you didn't want to call her mom, that's fine too. That was a lot of pressure put on, kids at a young age. And it doesn't sound like they actually pressured your siblings to start calling her mom. That's just how they started seeing her. And there's nothing wrong with that either, especially since they didn't really remember mom. So it's a tough situation psychologically. I think dad and stepmom also got a little weirded out because the grandparents kept referring to your stepmom as your stepmom. While that is technically correct, she's the stepmom. She's the mom of the house. She's the wife. She is the one that's there. So, she's also a mom. There's no need for the grandparents to diminish that role either. And then your parents just kind of pushed a little too hard the other direction. It goes around in a vicious circle. There's no need in bringing it up over and over and over. I think you wanting to honor your birth mom with having your grandparents kind of be part of the ceremony like that is fine. And it's your wedding. Your parents do need to suck it up. Either accept it or don't come. And I keep calling them parents, but you know what I mean. The existing ones, the ones that are still there and living. Even if I didn't appreciate the grandparents being given an equal role in a non-traditional sense, most weddings don't do that. Or some include parents and grandparents, but either way, I would just suck it up and deal with it. I mean, it's your day. If I didn't feel like it was that, if I felt that strongly that it wasn't right, that it wasn't the correct thing to do, then I just wouldn't come. Of course, then I'd have to understand also that I'd be ruining the rest of our relationship, what's left of it. So, yeah, I think everybody needs more therapy in this one. And again, that adult discussion, you need to sit down and discuss it. You're harboring hard feelings because your mom got replaced by somebody through no fault of your own, through no fault of their own. What are they supposed to do? Anyway, it's a tough situation all the way around. I don't think you're the a-hole, but I don't necessarily think everybody else is the a-hole either. But your dad and stepmom really kind of play a bitter role in this somehow. I'm not sure. Anyway, next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my niece stay with my daughter? I, 50 male, have a daughter, 19 female, who goes to school in the Northeast. She lives in a condo me and my wife, her mom, own rent-free during most of the school year, while my son, 17 male, will be starting college this year in state. My sister's kid, 18 female, accepted an offer a while ago to go to school in the same state and area as my daughter. They live in the South, so it's a bit of a change. My sister asked me a couple days ago if I'd be okay with the possibility of her daughter moving in with my daughter at the condo. I don't live there, so I said I'd get back to her. Then she started with the whys and wanting to know more. I told her I just wanted to ask the person who actually lives there how she'd feel about it, and she started pulling the "well, you own it" statements, which made me believe that she was hoping for an immediate yes. I expressed that, and that turned into a dispute and back and forth over the issue. We didn't go on for too long, and we seemed to leave things a bit rocky, so I'm posting here to see if I'm what this sub would call the a-hole. Absolutely not. A, you own the place, so the ultimate decision is going to be yours. B, you're trying to be aware of your daughter's feelings because she lives in the unit. She actually lives there, and does she really get along that well with the niece? Is the fact that they're family and blood going to cause issues later on down the road when the niece possibly starts taking advantage of the situation? I don't know that she's going to. Nobody does. But, maybe there's some things in the past that show that she may not be totally receptive to living by the house rules. Who knows? I think it's totally reasonable and fair for you and your daughter to talk as the two that, one lives there, one owns the place. Talk first amongst yourselves and say, do you think this is a good idea? Do you see any things causing bad blood down the road? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Will she honor her side? Will she pay for part of the bills? While you own the condo outright and maybe you're not even asking for rent, there's things like electric, cable, internet, whatever they have there. Shared food, shared dishes, shared responsibilities of keeping the place clean and neat and, not getting letters from the association or whatever. The sister was just hoping to get a good quick in with you and have a decision done, just thinking that it was automatic. And I think she's wrong for that. The niece wasn't directly involved in this story, so who knows? Maybe it's just the mom being a total B. Am I the a-hole for telling a couple that I'm not their charity case? I've been raising my 8-year-old nephew, Jack, after both his parents died in 2019. I went from being a 34-year-old bachelor to being a single dad overnight. I don't regret it or anything, but it has and does require a lot of sacrifice. My brother made good money and invested into a house before he died. It's being rented at a loss because the rent is less than the mortgage and other costs, but it'll be worth a fortune when it's paid off. So I'm basically paying for an 8-year-old and a house I don't even live in. I also have Jack in a private school. This summer Jack wanted to go to a sleepaway camp. It's for 6 weeks and I can only afford 2, even though it's a 3-week minimum. He left last week. Out of the blue, the camp called me up and said someone wanted to sponsor Jack for the whole summer. I was confused. They said a pair of angels heard of my hardship and wanted to help out. I said I wouldn't even consider unless they told me who was paying for it. Eventually, they said it was the parents of a boy who is an acquaintance of my son. They act like they're better than everyone and come from old money. I've heard them say nasty things about people that they've helped. I reached out to them and said my finances are none of their business and I'm not their charity case. I'm not here to make them feel better about themselves. They were taken aback by my response and asked me to think of Jack. I said your attitude proves my point. For the record, Jack has a fun summer planned out which includes many play dates and trips with his cousins, and his other uncle is taking him to Legoland in a couple weeks. He's not working in the mines this summer. Edit. The house was half paid off when I took possession of it. It cost me $400 a month to keep it. I would have lost like $80,000 before the mortgage is paid off, but the house can easily sell for $1 million. Why would I sell a house at a loss when I can keep it at a loss, but then sell it again in 15 years? Edit. You damn right that house is mine. Why shouldn't I be compensated for raising my nephew? So he should get his $250,000 and a house, whereas I find myself in debt at 53? He's already starting off at an advantage, and if I should die then, he'd get the house or whatever I have from selling it. It's a small compensation to have saved him from going to foster care. I'm sure my brother and my nephew would want me to have the house for putting my entire life and future on hold to raise him. Okay, you need therapy. So basically what you've shown is that you are bitter for taking over the raising of your nephew Jack. His parents died to some unforeseen, unexpected circumstances, and Jack was in need at that time. You stepped up. That was a good thing. Then you ruined it. See, you didn't do it for the right reasons, it sounds like. It sounds like you did it because, maybe in the moment, in the heat of the moment, you thought you were doing the right thing, but then as time went on, you became more and more bitter. If the house was a burden, the house should have been sold right then and there. Whatever equity you could have got out of it, you put towards Jack's future. Because really, in the end, it is all about Jack, the child that you took on. And if you don't see Jack as your own son and everything else, then yeah, you're just bitter and nasty because you had to raise a child. You didn't have to raise a child. You took that responsibility on. And who's to say that he wouldn't have found a great family through the foster care system? I mean, honestly, he was young enough at the time and with very little baggage that he probably would have been fine finding a set of forever parents and being adopted, and everything would have been okay. As far as the couple who was trying to help, there's a reason they stay anonymous. You know, for one, it's not about the feel goods. Maybe it is for them, but at the same time, if they do it from a place of kindness and wanting to actually help the kid out, then who are you to say, you know, that they're doing it just to make themselves look good or whatever? You say you've heard them say nasty things about people they've helped out before. You may have misinterpreted something they said. Just like when they said, think of Jack. Well, they were right. You weren't thinking of Jack at that point. You were thinking of your own pride. And it would have helped both of you out because it would have given you some time to, I don't know, get your thoughts together or whatever. And it would have given Jack the summer that he was actually originally looking for. I think you're projecting a lot of your issues onto your son, your now son. And I think it's wrong. And if you think that you're owed something for taking this on, then you are an entitled a-hole. We don't have kids. We don't adopt kids. We don't do anything for the what can I get out of it. If you do, then yeah, you're wrong. So there's that. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed today's stories like I did, and let me know what you think down below. I mean, was I even close to some of this stuff? I don't know. I think I got it pretty much right, considering the lack of context and the fact that we're only hearing one side of the story. So, oh yeah, if you like handmade stuff, check out this website down below. See ya.